Hello, everyone. I always like to start off the show with thanks for being here. I'm Ozzy Mora, your education station. Today, we're talking about a subject that impacts more than 7.5 million people nationwide and thousands of families here in Nevada. We're talking about special education rights and services. And today, we're talking to a friend of mine, Steven Cohen, who is a fierce activist for families with children with special needs. Steven, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
Oh, so Steven, before we get started off, I want to know about your story. How did you become such an advocate for our children here in Nevada, special needs children?
Sure. Actually, I go back to 2000 when I was finally diagnosed correctly, which would now be autism spectrum disorder with low support needs. But that was not in Nevada.
Where was that at?
New Jersey. And I was in middle school at the time. And as you can imagine, bullying was prevalent. And once it got to high school, it got even worse.
Yeah.
So long story short, we ended up relocating. By that time, my dad had retired, and we relocated to St. Louis, and I attended a specialized private school. And I can safely say without that school, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion because they had full-time therapists on staff, conflict resolution right on staff.
Would you say like a ABA therapy, like a therapist? Is that what you're talking about?
It was talk therapy.
It was what?
Talk therapy.
Talk therapy. Okay. And they assisted you through school.
Correct.
How did it change your life?
So it's just, I think, the support system and the teaching the parents how to support the kiddos was really the key. And then, like I said, after those 2 years, that's when we moved here. It became a whole new ball of wax because I was 18 at the time.
18. And how were you able to navigate life when you're 18? Because I know a lot of services for people with disabilities. There's not a lot of resources here in Nevada. And this is all according to families I have interviewed throughout or the past 2 years.
Sure. So there are resources that exist. They're called different things in different states. But I think Nevada, kind of the perception and the reality, at least in my scenario, is that not having an income tax creates a scenario where they can't fully fund the services and also train the agency staff about neurodivergent folks to have them better understand the challenges that they may go through.
And this is a situation that we're still talking about today. Just for clarification and an update for some of you that may not know, recently a federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration's plan to lay off nearly all staff in the special education division of the Department of Education. Now, if you're not familiar, layoffs in the U.S. Department of Education. Now, this ruling, actually, if you're just watching and joining us right now, was issued October 2025, so mid-October. And it came after a labor union sued and the judge expressed concerns and so forth. So with that being said, Steven, knowing this, the news is alarming for many families.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think a lot of families don't realize is vocational rehab is their monitoring agency as part of the Department of Ed. VR's whole purpose is to assist people with disabilities from age 14 and older to get and keep jobs. But I think there's a lot of stigma surrounding people with disabilities in all walks of life,
Right.
But particularly employment. And I think probably the bigger issue with that is that a lot of folks are scared to lose their means tested benefits, Social Security, Medicaid, things along those lines.
Yeah.
So they'll either have to work part-time or choose not to work at all.
Right.
So,
Now, I want to go back. When I said the news was alarming, I want to clarify that is we don't know what could happen to the special education oversight. There's still a lot of questions, and you speak to families every single day, Stephen. Talk to me about your journey. I know, can you explain before we go there? Can you explain to our viewers what vocational rehab is?
sure. So it is the federal program that, like I said, their whole purpose is to assist students and adults with disabilities. Like I said, from ages 14 and up to get and keep jobs. And they do that with an analysis of the realism of a person's aspirations. For example, and please, liberal arts folks, don't send me mail. If somebody wants to be a musician, but there's not a market, so to speak, in the music industry, the VR might try to train the individual in an industry that might have more of a market. So it really comes down to just evaluating the individual against the realism of the job market, which I think is declining at this point here in Vegas.
So talk to me about your journey seeking employment. And you also mentioned to me over the phone that you were recently furloughed. Walk me through your journey.
Sure. So this was finally the job that was from February until recently with the Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, was really the first time that I felt, or one of the few times I'd felt accepted, not just as an employee, but also as a human. Did retail during college, took me 10 years, but I made it.
You got there. You made it happen.
And then kind of one of the things is VR kind of has a perception without digging deeper into why somebody is acting the way they are of trying not to help a person be successful in the job. And then if something comes up in their job, it becomes an annoyance to provide supports after the fact.
Can you provide an example of what you're talking about right now?
Sure.
So our viewers could better understand.
Sure. So I had asked VR leadership if they could step in when the furlough became apparent.
When were you furloughed?
So my contract ended October 3rd. So I asked VR leadership if they could step in and pay the wages. And unfortunately, because my case was closed and it was not a disability related issue, it was a governmental related issue, they couldn't do anything. Tried to make the best case I could, but ultimately, so it's just been challenging to say the least.
So what are you doing now to try to live
So
and pay your bills?
So Social Security, I'm collecting against my dad's work record, which provides considerable amount over and above the traditional SSI that a lot of folks, it was a cut about in half, but hopefully the shutdown will end soon.
Right.
And go back the work doesn't end with the council. There's going to be a special session here coming up in a couple of days. It's just really about sometimes they're long nights, if just advocating for the families is worth it. We had a bill last session that unfortunately failed to try to get RBTs, registered behavior technicians, in CCST school.
That was a story I assisted you guys with. Yes.
And really what it came down to was there was an undeterminable fiscal note from the district.
Money?
Correct. But the other piece was there's a lot of politic, for want of a better term, that goes into bills behind the scenes. And the money committee is where it died before it could even cross over to the assembly. So we're gonna try. We're trying to work with the district behind the scenes to not need legislative action. And I'll say this: when I was at a conference recently in Atlantic City, they have successfully one of Newark School District, which is a major city near New York City, has successfully implemented a similar program. So I'm kind of trying to get more information over and above their hour-long breakout presentation.
You're trying to provide examples as to how it's assisted these families and these children. Also, if you're just joining us, Steven is very popular on social media, helping many families with children with special needs. Such a huge heart. That's how I met Steven. Always advocating for families, posting, sharing their stories, reaching out to local journalists like myself to see how we can tell their stories. Now, again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about a subject impacting more than 7.5 million children nationwide and thousands of families right here in Nevada, special education rights and services. Recently, a federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration's plan to lay off nearly all staff in the special education division of the Department of Education. Now, right now, this is a halt, but sources and experts are saying that things could change at any moment. Talk to me about that impact if that were to happen, Steven. You talk to these families almost every single day.
So, like I said, cutting out the monitoring agency for voc rehab would be devastating. Nevada misses the mark in a lot of ways, and I'm sure I'll get mail from them. But that would be devastating as well. Not having oversight of complaints that need to go to that level would just be devastating. Because oftentimes, I know 8 News Now has done several stories regarding individual cases of abuse and neglect, and it's really sad when they end up settling the case for God knows how much money versus trying to improve their policies and actually follow them.
Growing up, you were under IEP.
Correct.
Now, talk to me, what does this mean for a Nevada parent trying to secure an IEP for their child if these cuts were to happen?
So I think that they would still fight for the IEP. It's just a matter of how the resources would be allocated to implement that IEP, which varies per child. And a lot of times, for example, an aid, one-to-one aid to avoid a child from eloping, which is running away from their immediate situation, is typically one of the things that I see in the group that I co-moderate. And it's just, the organizations that are advocates, free and paid, only have so much capacity. to uh, to deal with the district, and sometimes the district, they can't reach an agreement.
And that's when they go to due process.
Correct.
Can you explain what due process is to our viewers?
Sure. So it's just enforcement of their rights is probably the easiest way to explain it. Parents have rights to be notified of meetings, to have reports from outside providers included in, and/or the providers themselves included in the IEP meetings, because ultimately, all parents truly want is the best for their children.
Absolutely. We all want that, right? Now, what happens when a struggle for services, like you said, RBTs, ABA therapy, already difficult for many families to get, loses its highest level of accountability?
That's a good question. uh, I think that really the district is the first level of accountability so the big issue that is one of the other things that we've tried to pursue in the past is cameras in special ed classrooms. And the concern that's been raised is privacy of other students.
Mhm.
So I think it just really comes down to having the district be willing to have those discussions, and then if they're futile, then
Mhm.
following the appropriate processes from there.
Why do you believe having these cameras in these classrooms are appropriate or needed? Why?
Sure. So I think that, as I mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
that a lot of times there are subs in classrooms because there's such a shortage of personnel. Sometimes classes are understaffed ratio wise.
Especially as special education teachers.
Correct. And just really, it's important that uh, folks, there are resources such as Angel Sense, which is a monitoring device that parents could have from the bus ride to uh, school and then
Hmm.
home. But similarly, the district has a privacy concern with it.
Right.
So it's really navigating the wonderful, wonderful laws that exist in
There's
all settings.
a lot that
Yes.
exists, right? Now, Stephen, what is your most single urgent message to Nevada's congressional delegation about this situation? And when I say this situation, it is the possibility of special education oversight and the team staff being laid off.
Listen to the constituents. These are real stories with a real impact. And when they're uh, requesting meetings or helping get meetings with them, take them to heart. They're really at their wits' end with their story. And then, but I think the other piece is to um, have another person in the room if you don't feel comfortable
Hmm.
um, doing it on your own, at least initially. Have another person in the room, because even before the meeting, they can kind of run your 15-minute script by you, by by them. But yeah, like I said, the big ticket delegation message would be listen.
I know a lot of parents that I've interviewed, they seek out an advocate to attend their child's IEP meetings. Um, now, what we've been discussing, the impact of special education, is this a foundational attack on the law that ensures a free, appropriate public education for students with disabilities?
Absolutely, 100%. I I think it's not just FATE, which is, as you just mentioned, but I think it's also the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then also Section 504 of the Rehab Act of 73. So we're talking about very different times in the country.
Yeah.
And it's just really, I think if this were to go through, we're kind of taking 50 years of backwards.
You're worried?
Yeah.
You're worried?
Just that the advocacy is the advocacy truly worth it. It's kind of futile at the end of the day. Just trying to ensure that not only myself, but also, because there's nothing I can do with respect to the shutdown than just helping families. Like I said earlier, the work doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. You keep working. I see you regardless. Now, can you explain to families what does IDEA mean?
So it's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And if I remember correctly, I'm old.
It's okay.
It's kind of a companion to FATE 88 and 504. Just kind of that foundation to having families ultimately seek out and hopefully reach a compromise in getting the supports that they need.
How do cuts to social services like Medicaid, because you brought that up, Medicaid, compound the educational challenges for our families?
Sure. So I think that what the district may not realize, and this is not just CCSD, this is all over the country, that for certain services, they're able to bill Medicaid. But I think also that insurance companies, whether it's straight Medicaid related to Social Security benefits or managed care, as we have here in Nevada, insurance companies want to find any way to pay the least amount of claims that they possibly can. But like I said, there's just barriers to get the services, and I think there's long wait lists that are involved here in Nevada.
There's long wait lists everywhere, right? I know that many families, even to receive a proper diagnosis for their child, some of them wait 3 years for, and also to that helps them get the services they need at school for their children as
So,
well.
so I'm glad you brought that up
Sure.
because I think the misconception in the community, one of them is there's a medical diagnosis for the purposes of getting community resources.
Community resources is different,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Can you clarify that for our families?
Sure. But then an educational diagnosis is how the IEP, kind of what the foundation for the IEP is. Uh, and like I said, I think there's a misconception of that, oh, I got a educational diagnosis, the insurance company will accept that. Well, maybe not. It just really depends on the company with.
So are you saying, let's say my child was diagnosed by a pediatrician, right?
Sure.
And I wanted to get my child the proper therapy services, speech therapist. Are you saying that insurance won't cover it, like at a proper facility, or is that what you're saying, trying to explain?
It, like I said, it really depends on the company and what their uh, coverage package is. Sometimes that their session limits, things along that uh, that come into play. But then another thing to kind of close, as I see,
Right.
is that uh, a lot of times families have to choose between school and therapy.
Like ABA.
Correct.
Mhm.
Or really
Any therapy, right?
because, it's just juggling, sometimes multiple kids, neurodivergent or not,
Mhm.
just to get them the services that they need in the most appropriate setting that allows them not to go crazy.
Every child's different. Every situation and need is different, correct?
Right.
One last question before we wrap this up. What gives you the most hope for the future of special education in our state?
I think just collaboration, kind of the fierce few, just never giving up, and just kind of creating those collaborative relationships behind the scenes
Mhm.
that then become forward facing during the biannual legislative session. That's a soapbox by itself.
And advocates like yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot, a lot, but you are unique and you are genuine, and I really appreciate that about you, Stephen. So continue with your story, showing up for our community and for our children, and I know there will be change. Thank you, Stephen. And thank you all for being here again. This is the Education Station. I'm Ozzy Mora. Stay safe.